We good?
We good.
All right, good.
We are officially live. So
Let's do it.
Islam, happy holy day, y'all. Welcome to Elevate the Family TV network, to the Uniting of Asia channel on YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure that you sign up to Roku TV to be a part of the television network for Elevate the Family. First I rise, I give complete and perfect praise to Allah, the author, creator, the governor of the world, almighty, eternal, and incomprehensible. Honors to his illustrious prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Honors to all the true and divine prophets, namely Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, our prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Honors to all past, present, and future leaders of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Every one of you that should be on your way to your Holy Day meeting tonight. To all the leaders, all the administrations, to all your family, your friends, your loved ones, and all things Moorish, Islam. So,
It's long.
y'all know we keep the laws in our heart, but this is a pod class. So this is really something that you should be listening to on your way to the temple. Remember, like I said before, we'll be sharing that directory soon. We're still putting it together, but pretty soon we will have a directory showing you all the physical temples that you can go to, so you can congregate with the Moorish Americans in real life, proclaim your nationality, and become a part of this divine and national movement. However, if you're listening, welcome. We're glad to have you tonight. We're really going to do a nice intro to our co-host. So, y'all remember last week we introduced him. We had a discussion with our beloved brother Sultan Muhammad from the Nation of Islam. We will be bringing him back. We have another follow-up with that discussion. Honors to our brother and honors to the Nation of Islam for the work they're doing as well. We appreciate all of our brothers and sisters that are actively doing their part. And we introduced our co-host, but we didn't really introduce our co-host. So tonight is the night we're going to really get into who this brother is and why he has so much value just as a man and what he could bring to this podcast, this discussion. So before I go too deep into it, I'm going to yield to you, brothers. You please introduce yourself to the people.
Peace, peace, peace. First and foremost, my name is Ladero Goss L, uh, former chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Um, like to give honors to Brother Kennick for having me on. Um, honors to all the Moors, past, present, and future, Islam. Honors to all the officials of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Honors to our forerunner, Martin Zach Garvey. And last but not least, honors to our illustrious prophet, Noble Drew Ali, especially for helping me to become the man that I am today. Islam.
Islam.
So yeah, let's just get right into it. Enough with the honors. Islam. Praise Allah. For all the brothers and sisters that will be tuning in tonight and watching Islam. All the brothers and sisters that will be tuning in the future and watching Islam. This is a PodClass for teaching and discussions so that we can get a better understanding of what we have to accomplish Islam. So with that being said, let's just jump right into it. As I said before, I am or was a former chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America for a number of years. Islam. I am now currently an outreach worker. Islam. I've been an outreach worker for One Northside CP4P. That's Communities Partnering for Peace. For about a little over 5 years now. And the mission of that work, Islam, is basically to build relationships, to intervene in the violence that happens in Chicago streets. I'm an outreach worker. I serve the Rogers Park to Uptown areas in Chicago, North Side. My team consists of, I have a small team. My team consists of a program manager, a supervisor, a victim's advocate, two case managers, and about 4 or 5 outreach workers. Um, and so we have a very small team in comparison to the teams that you may see across Chicago and maybe in many other states that have a high rate of violence that happens in the inner city communities. And so um, I don't really want to paraphrase because I don't want to use my words in the overview of what it is that the street outreach entails um, for a diverse amount of reasons, but per se, I'll read something in regards to what we do so that people can have a broader understanding. I know if sometimes we can be very narrow in our description sometimes, but for the most part, street outreach workers identify and respond to gun violence and its incidents. Islam interventions involve community violence intervention (CVI), right? Strategies to de-escalate tensions and control rumors, support victims and perpetrators of violence. The primary goal is to interrupt violence on the street and provide continuing support and empowerment for those negatively affected. In the short term, outreach workers focus on preventing shootings and homicides.
Mm,
Long term outreach builds a trusting relationship with those at high risk with the intent of connecting to them, right? Maybe a case manager who will facilitate the development and achievement of their individualized goals and objectives and things of that nature. Right. CP4P, community based organizations, hire and serve residents located in the designated communities to which they are assigned, like myself, Islam. I've been a long time resident of Uptown, Islam, and that is how, uh, well, one of the ways that I've obtained this particular work. You don't really get um, hired per se, you get handpicked. So hire is an understatement, but you do get handpicked for this work because you need something that we call LTO, which is license to operate. Islam. I'll get into that in a second, but for the most part, each organization serves, as an anchor for both community residents and local partners. Staff are community insiders who are trusted, respected, and credible service providers, like myself, Islam. As we all are Moorish Americans, we are service providers to our respected communities. Islam
Islam.
Prophet also told us that we need to be on the highways and byways, right? Islam. So street outreach or community outreach is just one of the ways that you can follow the prophet's instructions, right?
Mm,
And so, um, you know, like I said, they have respected relationships, credible relationships. These residents have established relationships and a local understanding of the neighborhoods and the individuals most likely to be involved in gun violence activity, right? Street outreach services are intentionally targeted in the hot spots or hotspot areas within the targeted communities. Our staff prevent and mediate conflicts before they escalate into shootings. When a shooting does occur, street
mm,
outreach staff conducts a threat assessment to determine the likelihood of retaliatory shootings and implement a de-escalation engagement strategy. Islam. So that, in a nutshell, is basically what I do. Um, well, what the job entails, not so much of what I do, but what the job entails, Islam, and we basically take care of um, our job or the service that we do provide, street outreach, by utilizing 4 pillars, right? And the 4 pillars are hyper local, restorative, trauma informed, and non-violent. Islam, a non-violent approach. Islam, and so with that being said, I'll just get into the four pillars, and then I'll get into what it means to be, what it means to have LTO, um, and then I'll get into maybe describing a day of what we may do as a team of outreach workers, and then I'll get into the reason that I wanted to um, incorporate, the work that I do, or and how we do our work with the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Nation of Islam, or any other um, organization that wants to actually do this work in the way that we want to do the work, what needs to be done, what I see that needs to be done, in my opinion. Islam.
Islam.
So we'll get into the four pillars. Well, hyper local, right? Hyper local and license to operate is virtually it goes hand in hand, right? Um, but also hyper local is knowing the establishments, um, residents, uh,
Hmm.
the, the the police, the fire department, um, churches, mosques, temples, um, uh, any any organization or establishment that has a standing in the particular neighborhood, having a relationship with those establishments and people is what we would consider hyper local.
Mm.
So, um, I, being a longtime resident in my neighborhood, being that is uptown, I have a relationship with a lot of stores, with a lot of store owners, currency exchange. The local alderman, the local alderman, the alderman of Uptown actually is, praise Allah, one of our very own, Angela Clay Ill Islam. So
Mm.
she's our alderman in our area, Islam. So um, seeing that she came out of Temple Seven under the tutelage of Grand Sheikh Prince Noble L, Islam, it makes being hyper local or having license to operate even easier. Islam.
Mm.
So that in a nutshell is what it means to be hyper local, right? The next one is restorative. Restorative is basically just trying to restore the peace and continuity of the neighborhood. That entails mental health. It entails understanding um, the strategies of de-escalation. Um, also entails understanding the reentry of inmates that or individuals. I don't want to say inmates, pardon once. Individuals that's just coming home from being incarcerated, Islam, having certain programs and things of that nature, so that when they come back into society, they have a way to adjust. They have a way to
Mm.
survive. They have a way to um, incorporate themselves back into society. Islam. And so, one of the things that we do as an outreach team is we have a case manager, um, and our case manager actually has um, um, like references um, to jobs and employment and things of that nature. Education. If they haven't had education on the inside, they are able to take GED classes, and a stipend is awarded to them for approximately $2,500 for completing their GED.
Mm.
So that can help them get a place, can help them get a car, can help them do a number of things that they wouldn't be able to do just coming back home. Islam. So a lot of things that we do is restorative. Islam. We can get into more restorative things later, but for the sake of time, I'll get into trauma informed. But if you wanted to interject, or I got some questions, anything like that, feel free. I heard
Praise
the
Allah.
yeah.
Praise Allah. I do actually, man, and honest to you. So, first off, man, this is a lot of great work, and it's happening. This community work is primarily taking place in Chicago, and it's
Yeah.
addressing gun violence, homicides, etc. We know that's one of the biggest issues that's plaguing our communities. But one question I got just from listening to your measure, your work, honest to you, for the community work,
No
I noticed
problem.
that you had expressed that you have it's in the district where you have representation. So the elected official, shares the nationality of us as a Moorish American.
Yes,
And
sir.
I just want to generalize it, but just, and this is for all community outreach activists or anybody in the community doing their part, whether it's for reducing violence, trauma informed care, anything of that nature. How does having representation, an elected official, help your efforts within your community? So
Um, Actually, we haven't even, scratched the surface of the things that we will actually be able to do with representation, especially representation of, a Moorish American, or by a Moorish American, from a Moorish American, or from a Moorish American's perspective, right? Again, we haven't even touched the surface, but regardless of the the association or affiliation of the elected official, Angela Clay Ill, I've known her um, for even longer, and so it because of the you know the elected officials affiliation with the Moorish Science Temple of America, it makes it a little sweeter, but um, nevertheless, again, it's the same as if she was not an affiliation. And so I don't want to harp on her being a Moorish American. Um, I don't want to make that the center of attention. I just wanted to kind of harp on the fact that because she, Angela Clay Ill, is in that particular seat of representation as being our alderman, it makes it easy because I know her. Islam,
mm,
and that speaks to the license to operate. Islam, knowing your community, knowing the people that mean something that can help, move along certain endeavors that's needed in the community. So, just wanted to kind of touch on that. I wanted to make sure, I wanted to make that clear. It's not because she's a Moorish American, it's because of the relationship that was built um, prior and during her affiliation with the
Islam.
Moorish Science People of America. So
Follow-up question on that. Thank
yeah.
you for that clarity. I think it's very important. I think you made a very good point. And I guess what I'm taking away from it is, regardless of her nationality, regardless
Hmm.
of her practices, just the fact that she's active in the community, you active in the community, you have a rapport and relationship, it's easier just to kind of begin to work together. And like you said, y'all
Yeah.
scratching the surface. Y'all really haven't dug and done a whole lot yet,
Yeah.
but I think that's good for everybody to know that essentially, kind of my takeaway from it is, when we're doing community activism work, we don't have to focus on our differences or our nationality. It's just for humanity, essentially. It's for everybody.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
It's for
be able to
everybody.
work together, regardless of your nationality, your religious views, regardless of any of that. So it shouldn't be focusing heavily on so-called black people. Shouldn't be
Yeah.
focusing on so-called white people. It should be
Yeah.
focused on the community that we all share and how we all can
Yep.
work together.
The
So,
community at large is on. And so I mean, just to touch on some of the things that we have done together, um, as um, an outreach worker for One Northside CP4P, we have what we call Light in the Night, right? And
mm,
Light in the Night is just it's an event that we have maybe twice a month, once or twice a month. It's been cold, so we haven't had one in a month or so, 2 months or so. But the last events that um, we had a Thanksgiving event where we gave out turkeys to families that needed turkeys for Thanksgiving to celebrate that particular holiday. that want to celebrate, with their families. They needed turkeys. They needed sides. They needed other things. We gave away clothes. We gave away hats, socks, and things of that nature. We gave away um, all types of things, toiletries, you name it, we gave it away. Islam, and so even for Christmas, Islam, we just gave away um, over 500 presents in Edgewater and Rogers Park and Uptown. Um, so it's better, maybe almost 1,000 gifts. I want to say we had a lot of gifts. I don't want to say a number to say a wrong number, but it was a lot of gifts. I'll say about 500 at the minimum, at the least. It was about 500 gifts, right? And so we do things like that for the community. We have an event coming up. Um, I believe it's this month. Later down this month, we haven't decided on a date yet, where we will be giving away hats, gloves, scarves, coats. We got shoes, we got pants, shirts, um, a whole bunch of stuff that
Mm.
we give away. That was donated, and we fundraised for it as well. So, pardon me. We do a lot of things for the neighborhood as far as charity,
Hmm.
things of that nature. So we do that in conjunction with other organizations, one being the Alderman's office, where Sister Angela Clay is stationed as well. And so we work with her office hand in hand. The events most of the time may come straight out of her office or in front of her office if the weather permits. But for the most part, that's how we work together. We've also worked together in other ways, as far as trying to regulate how the traffic flows in front of her office and around her offices. We had some incidents in the summertime where um, we had to regulate some traffic that was sort of in the way of established businesses. Islam, I'll let the audience, you know, use their imagination, but it wasn't a good look, and it was causing some friction for her and her office, and so we had to work together as far as de-escalating certain situations and moving some people around so that things can at least look normal until normalcy started to be normal, if you will, right? And so,
Right.
like I said, we haven't really touched the surface of the things that we will be able to do with, the alderman. But again, it's a golden opportunity for, the Moors, to actually come in and to actually do some good groundwork, outreach work, and in the communities that that we serve. Islam.
Islam. Wow. So, question, man, and thank you, man, because this is great, especially just being real with the reputation of Chicago, kind of the what we hear about, called Chirac, all the different things about violence there. So just to hear the efforts from the community, from someone who's there, what we would call boots on the ground, actually doing the work, I think it's really noble and honest to you, man. And what next question I have is what are some of the greatest challenges and barriers that you've known and kind of you've experienced just from trying to get people to volunteer, or whether it's getting donors, funding, or anything of that nature? How have you been able to overcome those, and what advice would you give to others who may be, striving to do the same thing in their community, man? How can they kind of work around that? What did you do to kind of work through that? Because you right there in Chicago doing it. So,
Yeah, man. First of all, as we know, Chicago is a very segregated city. Um, and working, well, doing the work that I do, I'm sort of boots on the ground, right? And so It's been it's been a wild ride because we have such a small team, and the work is sort of spread out within a few communities, within a few neighborhoods, and so we sort of spread thin. And the funding that we receive to do the work that we do, it's just not enough. You know what I mean? And that speaks to the segregation of the city. A lot of times, the north side is looked at as a sort of a place that doesn't um, have as much violence as the south side and the west side, right?
Right.
And so it's segregated financially, so to
Mm,
speak, because the north side has a lot of private donors, a lot of private industries that um, sort of stay north, right? On the south side and the west side, you have a lot of state-funded ran organizations that sort of thrive off of the money that's provided to them by the state. And so when you look at it from a financial perspective, the north side gets a small chunk of the funding versus the west side and the south side. And when you look at the north side and its funders or its donors, right, you have to appeal to their agendas. Islam,
mm.
and so I don't want to get too far off into that sort of sticky arrangement, but it makes it tough, to do the job because we don't have a lot of attributes, if you will, right? We don't have a lot of resources to offer to incentivize volunteering, to incentivize
Mhm.
participants to,
Mm.
become a part of every part Islam. And so, one of the ways that we've found to, I hope you guys are following too, as far as me,
Absolutely.
kind of, um, transitioning through the questions with my answers, Islam. But one of the ways that we've figured out how to entice um participants to actually get on board is to incentivize certain things. And so a lot of times we offer services that come with the reward. So we have a financial literacy program. Shout out to my lead outreach worker, Khalil Islam. Um, he's created um, a financial literacy program that offers a 200, I believe it's 250 or $200 stipend. If it's 250, it'll be beautiful, but 200 is still good, right? It's a
Mhm.
4-week class. And pardon me if I got the numbers wrong, but I believe it's 200. For completing the class, you get a stipend of $200
Oh,
that you can
wow.
do whatever you want to do with. But hopefully, once you get the money, you kind of open up a bank account, or you try to invest into something that you really spoke about, or you that touched you in the classes. So that's one of the things that we've found to actually get people to kind of um, be a part of every part is to incentivize, right? So we give out gift cards. We have stipends for class completions for financial literacy. Again, we have a GED program. Well, it's not our GED program, but if you get your GED program as being one of our participants, you are awarded $2,500 on completion of your GED. Again, you can
Oh,
use that
wow.
however you will, but we promote, using it in a more positive, productive manner, like getting a apartment or paying some bills, or you know getting your baby some things that they may need and they don't have, or getting yourself a vehicle so you can get around, and things of that nature, right? And so those are just a couple of things that we've, well, one thing that we've come to understand, that offers a little bit of stability with the work in our participants is to incentivize, some of the programs and resources that we do have. We also have a tattoo removal program for people that's re-entering society. It's a free tattoo removal program by referral, but it's still a free program. Shout out to my coworker Adrian Martinez Islam, who's getting those tattoos off people Islam. And it's reaffirming to know that you had some, kind of sketchy artwork, and now you're able to remove it and to get back into society. Islam. So that's just a couple of things that we do, man. We had to, figure out how to incentivize certain things that people can jump on board and not feel like, this is just a bunch of BS that some dudes in orange getting a paycheck is just trying to throw at them so they can keep a job. Islam is some things that we've actually thought about that, we took time to really think about to offer, our participants so that they can, re-enter society, from the life that they've, once lived. Islam. And so, getting becoming financially literate and getting tattoos off your face and off your body, so you can go into these job interviews and have a little bit of more stamina about yourself than you would have if you didn't have these things. So, incentivizing is one of the ways that we figured out how to, maximize our productivity. So, yeah.
Wow. Well, Islam, man, oh man, I like that. So, next question, thought is, how can others get involved? Like, or how do you get started if you're a person and you tired of seeing violence in your community? And this is, it's kind of answered a two-part. There's one part for those local who may be in Chicago, but our listening audience is, we're on Elevate the Family Entertainment TV. Shout out to everybody on Roku listening, tuning in.
No
so
doubt.
you can be anywhere in the world right now listening. So, what advice or suggestions or tips would you give to a person that wants to get started? They want to do something to stop violence in their community. They don't have. So you already kind of worked to express how you got around the challenges, incentivize them, but what's the first step? And then the other, so two part. One part is, what's the first step if they're local? They want to actually connect with you in the group.
Gotcha.
And how do they get started if there's nobody and it's just them?
Gotcha. Well, first off, I want to say this. I know this the name I'm gonna say may rattle a few feathers, but let's just not focus on the name and let's focus on what she actually said. And it's the truth. Islam, and the wise finds the means out of the bad. Islam. So paraphrasing, but yeah, Hillary Clinton said that if you are quote unquote black or a brown person, Islam, and you live in the inner city, and I'm paraphrasing again, but she did say this, Islam. She said one of the smartest things that you can do is to go and join an organization in your neighborhood, Islam. And at the time, it didn't sit well with me because she had called our young brothers and sisters super predators. Islam. I don't know if everybody may remember her statement when she called our young generation super predators. Islam, it was like 2000 something, early 2000 something. But for the most part, when I heard that, it just made me want to dissect what she meant, Islam. And what she meant is basically what you're asking. How can you help, right? And that's the best way to help. Islam is to go and join an organization or go and volunteer with the organization in your neighborhood, Islam, that has, the actions of your well-being at heart, Islam. So if it's political, go and join a political organization in your neighborhood. If it's, community work, right? Go and join the community. I mean, go and join an organization like One North Side in your neighborhood that deals with community work, Islam, housing, education, environment, things of that nature. And shout out to all of those teams too, Islam. And so yeah, that's how you get involved locally. Also locally, if you are or have been, into, you know, violence in the street, Islam, you've committed an act of violence. Act of violence has been committed upon yourself. Islam, we have something called flip workers, Islam, and flip workers. Um, Flip actually means flatlining violence, inspiring peace, Islam.
Hold
And
on, say
so
it. Can you slow it down? Say it one more time.
flatlining violence, inspiring peace.
Mm-hmm.
Inspires peace, not inspiring. Flatlining Islam,
Islam.
violence inspires peace. So that's what flip means. So we also have had in the past flip workers, brothers that have, been a part of, those organizations. And, we've had them, you know, help us do work, Islam, de-escalating situations, um, upon many other things, Islam. And so um, becoming a flip worker, volunteering, and flip workers are actually compensated too, Islam. So that's just one of the ways that, local residents can get involved in the work, Islam. Um, as far as organizations, Islam, wanting to get involved, that's one of the things that I kind of wanted to get into today. Um, and that would be like, for example, the Moorish Science Temple of America and the Nation of Islam. So we had a, discussion with the brother Sultan Muhammad last week on the Holy Day, and we talked about, some of the things that will help us collaborate without confliction, Islam, as far as the work that we will be doing, along the highways and byways, right? And so, with that being said, one of the ways that I think organizations can be a part of this is if they went through some type of formal training that probably could be facilitated by myself and my team, along with other people that have instilled some pillars into the work that could also help us do that. But facilitating the incorporation of the organizations into the work, I think
Mm-hmm.
would be the best way. And I say that because there is a professional way that has been developed to do this work, and I am a professional outreach worker. Islam, I actually went to school, cohort. I'm one of the graduates of cohort 8, Islam, and so
Mm-hmm.
let's go grade 8, right? And so with that being said, it's like um, the best way to incorporate other organizations into the work that we do, per se, as outreach, right? I would say will have to be facilitated to incorporate those organizations to do the work the way that we have professionalized the work to be done. So, um, you know, ones can reach out to the website, um,
What's the
and
website?
onenorthside.org, or email me personally, Islam, and I can um, direct those emails accordingly, Islam. But yeah, um, at onenorthside.org. My website, I mean my email address is lgossl at onenorthside.org. That's LGOSSEL at onenorthside.org. So that's LGOSSEL at onenorthside.org,
Yes.
or just onenorthside.org to pass along your information, and somebody will get back to you. And again, this is a new endeavor that me and the brothers discussed before, and something that we, want to work towards. So yeah, that's a great question, bro, and I'm glad you asked that question, so that I don't have to dig it out of my recall. But yeah, I'm glad you asked that question because the work that we do, like I said, is professionalized, and it would look sloppy if we were all out and we had different ideologies on how the work is supposed
Islam.
to be done. Islam.
Islam.
So
So if I may, just to kind of recap that, because it was a lot, but it was great. And I think you were very thorough with kind of giving us some next steps. And kind of my takeaways would be, first thing first, if I'm
mhm.
tired of seeing violence in my community, um, before I just jump out there and go and do something, first do some research and learn about who's doing what in the community.
No,
Identify those
cut you off.
groups.
I don't mean to cut you
You're
off,
good. You're
but
good.
that's not the correct way.
Well, hold on,
Islam and
hold
I.
on,
All
hold on.
right, go ahead. I'm
Because in
listening.
part, this is my takeaway. So let me
Okay,
finish recapping. So,
I got you. I got you.
and
I
it
got you.
kind of
Pardon
ties
me.
in. It kind of
Stop.
ties into you good Islam, but it ties into what you were saying. Kind of the advice around joining an organization.
Mm-hmm.
So first thing you should do is join an organization, but you got to do research to identify what organization you want to join that aligns with
Got you.
your
Yep.
interests.
Yep.
So if my interest is, to your point, if it's politics, then I should research which groups are doing who's doing what in politics, and go to a
Mhm.
meeting and hear and listen and learn and
Yep.
align with that group. So
Yep.
that's why I was saying that's kind of the first step. So that's why I say the research is
Yeah. Yeah.
research that
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
align with that group, and then be a professional with it. So
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
and that kind of is another question that leads me to, which is, as a professional and being I'm sure you had your fair share of trauma that you've experienced yourself.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
how do you put aside your passion, your emotions, and all those things when doing community outreach work? Like, how do you not like just move in anger? How do you compartmentalize, if you will, put that aside and be the professional? Because it's easy to let the passion rule you. A lot of us get active in activism work, if you will, behind this. I see people want to march all the time. We've seen people destroy communities. So how can you kind of redirect that energy into being productive? How do you do it? And how have you seen others do it there in Chicago, where it's probably arguably one of the most prevalent places we see it at in America?
Great question again. Which is a simple answer, but in the essence of it being a simple answer, the I guess how to do it is the hard part. Islam, and that would be self care.
Mm,
Islam. Um, we teach and outreach that self care is very important. Um, because of the trauma that we experience Islam, and that we have experienced Islam, not only in the work but also at home in our childhood and things of that
mm,
nature that make us who we are, right? And so self-care is so important. Islam, being able to take a break, Islam, away from the madness, Islam, being able to have somebody to talk to. We have a team of healthcare specialists that you know that attend to us as outreach workers, case management, victims advocates,
mm,
supervisors, program managers, and things of that nature, where we can feel free to talk to someone if we need to. There's um, programs, therapy sessions that we can be a part of, Islam, that we can, initiate if we need to. Um, but from a more personal perspective, Islam, um, being that I've went through the school of Moorish science, so quote unquote, you know what I mean. Being a chairman, a former chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and official with the Moorish Science Temple of America, has you know taught me um, how to I don't want to say put things in a necessary place, but it's taught me how to compartmentalize in a productive or more beneficial way. And so in the work that I do, um, it's traumatizing. It's wrong, and it's something that we've uh, kind of coined called vicarious trauma. Islam is where um, someone else's trauma actually affects you. Islam, and we respond to shootings. Islam, and we've we've seen some crazy scenes, and we've experienced some really close losses. Um, and so just dealing with death in such close, proximity, it's it's a it's a it's a day stopper. Islam, it can turn day into night really fast. Islam, and you have to, as an outreach worker, right? You have to learn how to compartmentalize your personal feelings, um, and your professional sort of outlook, right? And you have to be able to present yourself in a more professional demeanor at all times, regardless of the circumstances. And so I credit my my lessons from the cohort and teach me about self-care, and let me know that it's okay to talk to someone. Let me know it's okay to take a break. Let me know that I'm still supported, even if I'm having a bad day. Islam. And so, and from a Moorish perspective, where it taught me how to, compartmentalize um, in a more productive, beneficial manner. And so, those are just some of the things that you have to worry about with the work that we do. Is being able to take care of yourself due to the situations that you may be involved in, or become involved in due to your proximity of knowledge of the person of being, victimized, or what I mean, or the suspects, or whatever, what I mean. So, um, so yeah, it's a self care sort of answer. You know what I'm saying? So that's how you do it. You have to be able to take care of yourself in different, different ways, and still be professional in your becoming. So,
Islam. Wow. Self-care.
yep. A lot of it, brother.
Yeah.
A lot of it, brother. I
Yeah.
swear. A lot of it, brother. You'd be surprised, man. You'd be surprised, man.
So elaborate a little bit more on that, because I think this is a great discussion for real. I think this is something that if you're listening, and if you want to do something to help stop the violence in your community, please take heed to the wisdom from our brother, man. He's been doing it active in the community, and just to recap so far, to lead me to my next question. So essentially, research and learn about who's doing one in your community and join an organization.
Yeah, but let me add to that really fast. Let me add to that,
Yeah.
because you said something and I almost cut you off.
Yeah.
And you weren't wrong for what you were saying. It's just I think people need to understand that this is important along that particular, path, right? And becoming a pillar in your community. And that's the license to operate, bro. It's the
Right.
license to operate. And that means even if you don't have relationships in your neighborhood that would substantiate your actions, right? You need to build one, and that's becoming familiar with the schools, the principals of the schools, the staff, the libraries, the fire department, the stores. You know what I mean? All of the things that we discussed earlier when we
Right.
in lieu of,
Right.
being hyper local and having license to operate, becoming familiar with your neighborhood, the residents, being in your neighborhood for longer than just some months. You know what I mean? You have to have some type of established um, uh, what is the word I'm looking for?
Interest, if you
Tenure.
will. Okay.
Tenure. You know
Tenure.
what I mean? You have to have some established tenure, right? And so that would help you especially in, you know, finding a cause that sort of, calls you, so to speak, right? And so you're having your best interest at heart for your community. What can you do for your community? What are you good at? You know what I mean? And so you want to kind of go in that direction, but still building those relationships, even if it means building the relationships with the quote unquote perpetrators that's committing the violent acts in your neighborhood, right?
Mm.
Even if that means building a relationship with them, right? And so that's important, right? If you want to help out the homeless in your neighborhood, right? Build a relationship with the people that you want to serve. You know what I mean? So that when they
Mm.
see you coming, it's not this stranger that's just trying to get some brownie points. It's somebody that actually
Right.
has type of vested interest in their well-being because they're in a community too, right? So that I just want to add that part.
Islam. Don't do it for outward show, essentially.
No, don't do it for outward show. No, not at
And
all.
and and thanks for the clarity. So I understand. So essentially, with the license to operate, essentially what you're saying is, if you're going learn your community, and if you're going to start your own. So I guess that would be more of you're not joining a group. If you want to start your own group, actually be connected to the community,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and do it
Shout out
do
to
it the
Savior
right.
Inc. too, man. Shout out to Savior Inc., man, my boy, man.
Islam. Okay. So collaborate, network, and
Yeah,
do things the right way, the professional way. Don't move with your passion. Go and
exactly.
get register your organization, and don't recreate the wheel if you will. So if there's a group already addressing a particular action or particular issue, network, collaborate with them first, because what's the point of redoing it?
Yeah, exactly.
Is already. And so what you guys are doing, which I think is very noble, is essentially you all respond to shootings and,
Hmm.
and,
And violent
and
incidents,
violent
like
incidents in
we
the community.
also like, yeah, we like respond to violent incidents, stabbings and stuff like that. You know what I mean? We mentor at high schools. We got some things coming up at Sullivan High School. We at Sin High School at the moment. We got some things coming up at Sullivan High School. We got uplift in our foresight. So and we really want to work with some grammar schools too. And that's
Mm.
one of the things I want to touch on, and I kind of like, I'll turn the floor back over to you. Is real violence prevention starts before, quote unquote, our young folks jump off the porch. As long, and so that would help us, you know, sort of deter our youth from, you know, I don't like to say these things, but felonious activities. You know what I'm saying? And so, like,
Wow.
we got a real impressionable young community, especially with the internet and social media at all time high, right? And so I think reaching our youth at an earlier age, I would target age group is 18 to 24. By the
Mm.
time some of our guys and sisters turn 18, they done already did some treacherous stuff. And so, with that being said, catching them before they even, go into seventh grade, you know what I mean, eighth grade, that's the
Mm.
place where they are more impressionable than they are as freshmen, sophomores, and juniors in high school. So, just want to throw that in there. You know what I mean? And that's
Wow.
basically the work that I would love to see the Nation of Islam and the Moorish Science Symbol of America doing, because that
Mm.
before that particular age group and all those other organizations that really want to jump in and do this work too, right? I think that age group is more uh, impressionable, right? Malleable than 18 to 24. You know what I'm saying? Like you catch them before they turn 16, bro. You know what I mean? And you may be able to change the trajectory of, you know, some of the things that may happen in your neighborhood. I'm just being honest. And that just comes from the work that we
Mm.
do. It just comes from me being an observer of the work. I've always considered myself a watcher, right? Just to watch and see what happens. But, just watching and seeing what happens with this work, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's too late to intervene in some of these young guys' lives because they've done so much at such an early age that karma is at such of a high speed to come back around that we're not able to really complete the work. You know what I mean? By the time karma comes back
Mm,
and touches down. So we've had young brothers that we've done work with, and it's starting to turn the corner. And we starting to get them to come to the office, and we starting to get them to volunteer, and we starting to get them to call, and we starting to get them to participate in certain programs. And boom, one night you wake up in the morning with a CPIC that says, young brother, young male, 20 years old, one gunshot wound to the head. You know what I mean? He ain't here no more. So
mm, wow.
that's some of the, some of the things that we go through doing this work. And I think that, you know, reaching them at an earlier age gives them more of a chance to decide whether they want to go in a direction that, is going to offer them less versus going into a direction that can offer them more with just a little bit of work, but they have the support to get the work done. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Versus not having the support and having to, make a tough decision that could, trouble them for the rest of their damn life. Excuse my French.
So, well, if I may, man, wow, that's deep. Essentially,
Yeah.
get ahead of it, man, and that kind of leads me to my final thoughts. I would like to read a short excerpt from the Moorish literature, and then yield to you for our final word.
No
Final
question. Let's
word
do it.
here tonight. And
I know it's gonna be good.
this is from the Moorish leaders' historical message to America. This was
Hmm.
initially published on Friday, October 26, 1928. It's a pretty lengthy article. I'm not going to read the entire article. I'm just going to read two paragraphs and then yield to you.
Hmm.
Um, Read carefully the doctrines of the Moorish Science Temple of America. It contains our hopes, aims, rules, and articles of religion. Every member should have a copy. In conclusion, I urge you to remember there is work enough for all to do in helping to build a better world. The problems of life are largely social and economic. In a profound sense, they are moral and spiritual. Have lofty conceptions of your duties towards to your country and fellow men in general, especially those with whom you deal. This in general, this includes such honesty and righteousness as will cause you to put yourself in the other fellow's place. Look for the best in others and give them the best that is in you. Have a deeper appreciation for womanhood. Brighten the hopes of our youth in order that their courage be increased to dare and do wondrous things. Adhere at all times to the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I am your affectionate leader. I shall continue to labor day and night, both in public and private, for your good, thereby contributing to the welfare of our country and its people as a whole. Noble Drew Ali. So I just had to read that because I thought that was a kind of a great takeaway. So I'd
Yeah,
like to yield the floor to you to give our final thoughts and close us out with this today's PodClass.
man. Praise the Lord for that, Islam. Um, well, I want to do the same thing you did, brother.
Go
Great
ahead.
minds think alike. Um, and I just want to read something to connect us all. Islam. We all about unity. In the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam, and um, to unite with other organizations and other individuals. You know, to do this type of work, you need to sort of have a contractual, reciprocal sort of contractual agreement, right? Like, we're both doing the work, or we are all doing the work, regardless of um, our roads to get there. We're going to end up in the same place. Um, and so, I just wanted to read the covenant, the holy covenant of the Asiatic nation, Islam, um, coming out of our holy Quran, divinely prepared by the noble prophet, Islam. uh, chapter 25, the Holy Covenant of the Asiatic Nation. Can you hear me more?
Islam, yes, sir.
Islam says, "Ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother hath given you suck. Let the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers, part ones, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate into the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brothers in adversity assist him, if thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all in your love to each other." Islam. And I wanted to read that right. Some said read the covenant, Islam. Um, and because it speaks about, you know, the support of his whole race is the human race, Islam.
Demonstrate.
And so it goes into his care being continued to you all and the love for each other, Islam. And I think that the love that we should have for each other, right, um, is the love that we should have for, our fellow um, brothers, sisters, neighbors, Islam. And so even as Moorish Americans, Islam, we should have love for our you know sister organizations, and what I mean, and things of that nature. So to work with each other, right, and to have the love that we have for ourselves for them. um I think this will be a great endeavor for any organization that gets into the mode of street outreach. As long as you haven't been into street outreach and you want to get your feet wet, what I mean, with street outreach, Islam, make sure that you have the love for yourself and your brothers and sisters of your organization. Have that for other organizations that you're working with. Islam, have that for the people that you are doing a service for, Islam, because any other mode is just going to be, you're going to be able to see it. They're going to be able, the people going to be able to know, bro.
That's right.
The people know sincerity. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So be sincere, bro.
Islam. Islam. Wow. Well,
And
praise
that's it for me,
Allah.
brother. Praise
That's
Allah.
it. Well then, hey, y'all, we about to close out. Please make sure you make it to your meetings. Honest to all of the grand sheiks, every administration, everybody about to raise them flags and do their part. We love
Look at
y'all.
that
We
too.
appreciate y'all. Also, we are going to start. We're going to incorporate a Sunday school for the Elevate the Family Entertainment TV family. So you're going to get a Sunday school coming soon. That's going to be led by our beloved sister, Sheikah Janisha McNair Bay. She's going to come on here and we're going to start demonstrating the power and the benefits of Sunday school to help ones get into their Sunday school lessons and get to a temple. So thank you, my brother. Now y'all got to meet our co-hosts. I hope y'all understand why the brother's here. And please make sure you reach out to them, support the efforts there in Chicago. We are going to also have a follow-up with our beloved brother, Sultan Muhammad from the Nation of Islam. We will be elaborating more on this, which you discussed tonight, as a potential, some action that we could take. This is some
Yeah.
collaborative efforts that we could take for the community outreach perspective, and we can put aside any perceived differences, arguments, any of that. So I'm just, man, thank you, brother. This was a great show tonight. Hope y'all enjoyed it. I know I did.
Yeah,
And
man. And I definitely want to also add that I want to kind of get some of my guys in here, so that
okay.
the people can, get a further understanding of what we do. Maybe they can get some questions asked to them as far as they perspective of the work and how they do the work, and how they can, assist in the collaboration with other organizations. I can get the alderman, Angela, could probably get her in here for a few minutes to, speak on some things as far as how we can collaborate with, with the aldermen and other aldermen surrounding our district and ward. So, yeah, man, we can do some great things, man. I just think that, the advertisement of the work just needs to be there. So, Man, kudos to you, bro, for even, you know what I'm saying, helping develop something like this. So
Praise Allah.
yeah,
Happy to do my part, man.
no
So,
question.
all right, y'all. Peace and love. We'll see y'all next
Peace.
week. Islam.
Islam.